ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We have come to the last question in the Prasnopanishad, in the series of 6 questions. The whole idea of Prasnopanishad, like the way that every other Upanishad, has the main purpose of taking one towards a spiritual journey. And this spiritual journey in Prasnopanishad, he takes it with the help of the concept of prana. In Mandukya Upanishad, he takes the concept of mind, chitta, and here he takes the question of prana, or three different states of our existence, and how the consciousness is in the form of various three different state experiences. That's what his Mandukya Upanishad gives us. When you take the Kathopanishad, it takes in the form of Mrityu and beyond the Mrityu, and that's what is the whole discussion is about. But basically, all these Upanishads, any Upanishad that you take, it takes us towards the spiritual journey, Adhyatmika journey. That's what is the idea. Taittiriya Upanishad takes the Ananda as a very important thing. That's why we have Brahmanandavalli is the chapter, is the way that Upanishad Rishi takes us in that direction. But before going to that, he also gives us the idea of how various things in the world have been categorized into the various forms, and how the creation takes place, that annado bhavati. So it may be there are different ideas about various Upanishads, but ultimately the goal is the same. They are taking us to the same idea of the uh, spiritual journey. Adi both these are the three different levels of the existence that we can think of, the way that this Upanishad and other Upanishads talk about it. One is called as Adi Bhautika, the second thing is Adi Daivika, and third is Adhyatmika. In Bhagavad Gita also, last time I was saying, Krishna, in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he starts with that question. What is Adi Bhautika? What is Adi Daivika? What is Adhyatmika? And what is karma? Like that, he asks these questions in the form of discussion with Arjuna. Arjuna asks the questions and Krishna tries to give an answer. So this Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika is something which is also a very prominent, very easy idea that was there a part of the sculpture. That's the reason why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Arjuna asked that question, and that's with a reference to the war that he's involved in. Now, what is Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika? Bhautika means basically the physical world. In the physical world, that what is very important is the, and then in all these three things, he says that Brahmacharyena Shraddhaya, and with the help of the Atma Pariksha, Swarupa Pariksha, with that idea, these three things are the very important thing in this particular journey. If we do not have that, that becomes like, for example, we're in the Adibhautika world, the material world, and the way material world takes us, we go by that material world process ideas that are there. There also that there are two ways that one would go. In the beginning, that when this journey, probably earlier, there was only one thing what is called as the strength and power. Man used to use the power, therefore might is right. That was the kind of principle. Even today also many people follow that. But that is the lowest level. At least sometimes animals are much better than that. In case of human being, he is not even that. Like for example, animal, They don't necessarily destroy their own species. They maintain their species. And second thing is that they take as much as their hunger permits, not beyond that. That's why in jungle, various species that live in harmony. In harmony means basically that there are certain things which are meant for their food, they eat only that. But other than that, even those animals also live together. Like, for example, a deer also lives in the forest. A tiger also lives in the forest, though deer is the food for the tiger. But then the universal, the divine law is such a way that more and more number of deers are produced, so that the tiger also will survive and the species of deers also survive. So this is what is the way that the jungle life used to be there, animal level. But from that, when it comes to the man level, that's where basically the idea of the might is right. That means to say, I'm strong, therefore I can destroy the weak. So this is something which is prevalent in the human being. Therefore, human being required, particularly the caveman, required certain amount of discipline so that we all survive. So therefore, what is called as the law or the nyaya comes into the picture. And this is what is purely at the physical body level, at the bhautika level, that we require what is called as a very simple thing is law, nyaya. That means I let and let live, live and let live, kind of a principle. You hurt me, I hurt you. Shatam pratishatyam. Whereas I take something from you and I give back something to you. So this Soviet barter system, everything survived at the human being level. But then there is something which is trying to make him higher than that level. And that's what in this particular anna- adibhuta level, adibhautika level, what we require is what is called as dharma shastras. Dharma is something which is going one step ahead beyond the level of just barter, just nyaya, just law. So there is something which is higher than this nyaya that's available, higher than the law, higher than the what is called as just a equal kind of a thing, and beyond that one goes that's what is dharma. So we have the dharma shastras to tell us about what is something which is like a higher level that we go, and when can one go into this dharma shastras is when one practices the idea of brahmacharya and shraddhaya, and also that atma pariksha. When these things are there, that will help him to go towards the dharma. That is where basically he is seeing he slowly started recognizing that the other person is also like me, like him. You are also like him. So this equation, this idea is the one which takes you towards that. So therefore, at the bhautika level, what is that which helps us to go to a higher level, to deeper level, is what is called as dharma shastra. Then what is called as the adidaivika. At adidaivika level, that means to say basically that you do the good work and you serve the others, you do all kinds of things. Therefore, at that level, what happens is you do good, so you get back good. So therefore, what is called as the Adidaivika level, at Daivika level, there is what is called as that Karya Karana Sambandha, the cause and effect connection. The cause is what you do, and effect is what you get. It's not anywhere different world altogether, Adidaivika. Here itself, that we experience that Daivika kind of a idea because of which that we in our life itself there are certain things which are effect of it, that what you do good you get back good, what you do bad you get bad. And therefore in order to see that this particular thing is manifest at Adidayvika level brings about the idea of that there is life after life, that you are connected. So you do something in this life and then you get in the next life, or whatever that you got today is something what you have done as a result of what you have done in the previous life. This is what is called as the karmic effect that people talk about it. So here, Adidayvika level, that you see that this karma bandha, karma effect, and all those things are given. This is where we have all these Puranas that are there. You can see in all the Puranas that there is always this connection. Like, for example, somewhere something somebody has done thousands of years back, and then he gets effect of that. A maybe big person, good person, useful person, with all those things that are there. He may be very, very sought after by the society. He has done so many good things to the society. In spite of it, he goes through that because that there is something like karma and then karma, karmic effect that is there. Like Dasharatha had to send his son away to the forest, and then he succumbs because of that. So therefore, that this karmic effect that is there. Similarly, that you can see whole of Rama and Mahabharata in all the Puranas, that it is connected with something what you have done and what you get it back. Even the demons, that they are demons born because that they have done something which is supposed to be wrong, and then they get that particular aspect of it. And in fact, large population is guided by this karmic effect. Large population is guided by all these temples, etc., rituals, and all these ideas of the societal work that people do. It's all connected with this Adidaivika principle, Adidaivika concept of it. And from that Adidaivika, where somebody is again there also, he is Nishtaya, Brahmacharya, Shraddhaya, Tapasa. When these three things are there naturally, that he goes to the next level, and that's what is Adhyatmika. In Adhyatmika, that there is nothing like Karya Karana Sambandha. There is nothing like that you have to do good to the society. You have to accrue the good. You have to take the punya as a uh, stock with you. Punyana punyalokam naiti, papena papam. Like that, we have seen earlier in the same Upanishad. And that's what is the Adhyadaivika. But then at Adhyatmika level, that this you do not do it, you don't have to do it. All that what you do is only the moksha, the liberation. So therefore, Adhyatmika level is where that you are following the same idea of Shraddhaya Brahmacharyena and with the help of tapasa, then you reach that state which is supposed to be your own nature inside, which is beyond Adi, Adibhautika, Adidaivika, and then that's what is Adhyatmika. And what beautifully in the eighth chapter of Bhagavad Gita Krishna gives us is this Adidaivi, Adhyatmika is your own nature. Swabhava Adhyatma Muchate. The bhava that is there inside within you, or that is what supposed to be what is I, is nothing but Adhyatma. And that's what is basically that deep inside the Brahman, the what we call it as Jivatma, the same as Brahman. And this whole journey of this Adivaitika, Adidaivika, Adhyatmika, the Prashnopanishad takes us with the help of prana. And he starts with the idea of Adibhautika, where the various planets and various all these sun and everything. He starts with that sun and moon. That's how they decided. They divided. So sun is supposed to be prana, pranam cha, raim cha, and so sun is supposed to be prana, and then moon is rai, and rai is that which shines because of prana. Prana has to act on that. So from the outside whole creation, the whole manifestation from that, he goes on journey bit by bit inwards from first to second to third, fourth. All these questions take us towards that. But in all these cases, what is the most important thing is that we need to see before even these sishyas they come to Pipalada, the teacher. The Pipalada says that, and they came with Shraddha. That's why Brahmavid, they are supposed to be, they already are doing the sadhana for Brahman and all that. Then they come to him. He says that Samvatsaram Samvatsata, you follow these things so that your dedication towards the higher truth is something which is available. So with that, the whole idea he has taken up. First, he talks about the whole of cosmos. Then he comes to various aspects of prana. What is there, the prana within us? And then how this inner prana is connected with the outside world. So, therefore, all these things are connected, and then he talks about it. From there, he then comes to the idea of what is called as Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti. These are the experiences that we have. Wakeful, dream, and sleep experiences connects with that. This is how that whole our concept of our experience or our being is completely covered. Experience is covered, that means to say whatever that experience, but behind that, what is the being that is there? One who experiences. So this is how he connects with all those things, and then finally, by the time he comes to the fifth question, he comes to that level where huh, he comes to this idea of what is called as the Omkara. This Omkara is something which is also taken from the Mandukya Upanishad, and here also Omkara is used. How A, U, are connected with the Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. This is what he has given us the details of that. So it looks like that Omkara, which is the primordial sound, which is the essential way that the creation has taken place. And that connects the whole discussion of Prasnopanishad with that Om. And that's why Pranava, Upasana Purvakavagi, in the way that it is to be in the form of Upasana, he gives us. Now, after all these things, now see how methodically that all these things are connected. So there is nothing which is left out in the form of your own experience. So all these things are given one after the other. Now, after all these things, then Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika is given Aum. And when we take only the Adi Bhautika, that means to say that when we are only with the A, which is represented by Adi Bhautika, when you contemplate Ana, which you merge in A, then there is no progress. Only thing is that when A and U are put together, then only that the further journey takes place. And then now the third one, that is is also added. When all these three are added, then only you go to the silence. When he talks about this, it is not the question of that you simply, he says that you do the upasana of ah. It does not mean that just sitting and saying ah. It is fine that you say ah, but then you see that in the practice also that it should take you to that silence. Don't sacrifice that silence when we are making this particular journey. So therefore, the ahum will take you to that silence, which is the fourth, which Mandukya calls it as Turiya. So therefore, that you go to that state, it takes you towards that, leaves you that. But that fourth state is not the resultant of these three things states. But the idea, because why that it takes us to that, one very simple concept that is there is that whatever that is supposed to be the material world outside, it is nothing but rupa, the object that is there, and identification of that object is with the help of nama, with the help of word. Not only that object in the name of nama, but also the interplay, interaction, or the relationship is also with the help of nama or the sound. So therefore, sound becomes very important in the path of this particular spiritual journey, and the whole nothing but is sound. And the sound is nothing but spandana. The sound is the vibration, and we use the sound to relate to the object outside. We have given that sound, and then we relate to the objective world outside with the help of a sound. So therefore, the sound becomes very important from the spiritual angle, that we need to go in that direction. After all these things, then what is very important about this is that everything that is there in the world, spandana, is a vibration. The sound is a vibration. And when this vibration becomes feebler and feebler and feebler, gentler and gentler and gentler, then it almost goes into that silence. In fact, when the scientists say that even the electricity, everything is in the form of spandana, but all those spandana that is there, that means to say resonance that is there. The sound resonance is the one which is much more primordial, much more original that it will take us into. Therefore, this sound, and also another thing is that we can easily connect with that because we are the only species of the whole God's creation that who have the idea of connecting this spandana in the form of shabda, ucharana, and then the whole science of speech that we could create that. So we take this advantage of that. No other species has this facility of converting into communication with the help of the stalking, and that's what we can do it. So this stalk becomes at three different levels that you can find out. One is the manifest level, and the other is unmanifest level, and that's what is Thula, and the second is Sukshma. And then beyond that, where from it comes, and that's what is the silence or the Karana. So Stula, Sukshma, Karana, that's what is Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti. Why Sushupti is Karana? Because basically all these things will go back to that Sushupti and we go to sleep. What happened to all the senses? Everything is withdrawn into the silence. But that silence is supposed to be Hiranyagarbha, from where the whole creation takes place. The moment that you wake up, all these things will come back. You mean to say that you have taken birth again? No. Whatever that was there residue with you, and then you come back once again with all those things. The same body, when you come back, that's what is sleep. When you come back in a different body, that's what is basically the rebirth, life after life. So therefore, that there is the parallel thing between these two things. In that sense, basically, that what earlier sutras will say, that there is not much of a big difference between the dream world and the wakeful world, in the sense that dream world is time wise short lived, but then wakeful world is time wise it more much more longer time. But both these things, they come from that sushupti, and they come out into the manifestation. And here, what we comes out manifestation is the same body that we come in the dream state, in the sleep state. But in the case of the creation that is there, we're going to have to come back into a different room, but the whole journey starts. And our memory is something what we carried, especially with us, and that's what we try to manifest. So this is how basically that this karma siddhanta will come into the picture. Otherwise, in the wakeful and dream states, they are very much alike. From that point of view, when you look at it, the whole Brahman and manifest Brahman is same as the Hiranyagarbha. That there you go to the deep sleep state, and then from there everything manifests, like the way that in the other Upanishad they say that like from Purnanabhi, in the sense that the spider web comes from within that and then creates a spider and lives on that and prepares, provides food and all that, and then goes back. Whatever that is unnecessary leaves behind and then it dies. So this is how that species is taken an analogy. But in the Indian culture, that we can think of rather than these analogies, but we can much more clearly that idea has come, and that's what I agree with much more concretely, and that's the idea. That is, the consciousness itself is something which is basically the freedom, and that freedom is supposed to mukti or moksha. In that sense, that adi adhyatmika is something which will take you towards that moksha. It's supposed to be Brahman. So therefore, that moksha freedom is there, and from there that you come to the freedom is one more important component of the freedom is, or in fact, the most important component of the freedom is that it can give up its freedom to become something of a lesser freedom. and something of a lesser freedom, why should it give up its freedom to become something of a lesser freedom? So that what happens is that there are two different things are created. Now there is an interplay, interaction can take place. So therefore, that the creation started with the idea of this interplay. That's what in Bhagavad Gita Krishna says that karyate havashak karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi. So in Ishavasya Upanishad also he says the kurvaneve karmani jijevishe chatagam samaha evam tvaya nanate tos dakarma lipyate nare. The idea is that activity is the way. That's what is the feature of this particular creation itself. So this activity to be possible, when we think of an activity, it can be between two things. So first of all, that consciousness has to become two. That's what like the Upanishad gives us that. The consciousness becomes the food and also the hunger. So that interplay takes place. And that interplay, when you put them in the right kind of a judicious way, the food and hunger together will make you feel blissful and freed from the material world outside the food anymore. And we are freed from that. And that freedom and the bliss, and that's what is Ananda, and then Chetana. Both these things are the essential feature of the consciousness or the Brahman. So, in order to reach that state, that just small little, but then that can only happen within individual. Therefore, it is called as Jivatma, and there is Paramatma. So, what is the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma? Difference is very thin line. Jivatma itself is Paramatma. There are several Upanishads which talk about the idea that the analogies that they use it, the water inside the pot and water inside outside in the form of a river or the ocean, or more importantly that the space that is inside the house, akasha, and the akasha outside. The difference is only just a wall. You are not creating space; it's there. So therefore, essentially, that this individual now we go to that stage of bliss, and then it is your bliss, and that you are that Jivatma. So you have that bliss. The experience of bliss is always belong to you, Jivatma. Therefore, the interaction is always Jivatma who is through you. So it is the Jivatma, it is the same consciousness which manifests through this. Jivatma who is seeing, Jivatma who is hearing. So therefore, the aspect of seeing and the eyes. So this is how the whole projection takes place. So therefore, in the spandana, that total freedom is what is called as Jivatma at individual level, Paramatma at the cosmic level, and then it becomes the seeing, hearing, etc., mind, etc., and all that. Then it further becomes the sensory organs, and then interacting with the objective world outside. So uh, this is the way that the creation takes place, and that silence, that's what is Jivatma, becomes and then mm, and then By the time it comes to the that means the whole physical manifestation or the gross manifestation has come. At the level of U, it is not yet gross, but it is sukshma, but it has a picture of coming out into that way. In fact, we have in you see same philosophical principle is used in Sanskrit also, language also, very beautiful. That is, we say that these letters we say, I don't know how in English letters have come, but in Sanskrit we call it as akshara. That means to say there is no death. Kshara means death. Death is not there, that's what is akshara. The letter kakha gagha is an akshara. But then philosophically that means they are death. Why that idea of that there is no death? Actually, the way that we write ka, well, in the at the child level, that they don't give us the details of why we write kaka gaka and all that. But later on, when we go to the a bit of a grammar, in the grammar that will say they say that it is k plus a is ka. So that means already that there are two combination, and that becomes ka. K plus A becomes Ka. That means another combination of these two becomes the second. So like that everything is nothing but a combination. So what we strictly call it as Akshara is only the K, G, Ch, P, all these things. That means they are not yet born, but they're only the position. They have a tendency. A tendency is created, and then later on, it manifestation takes place. So it is Sukshma form and then the Stula form. Ka in the Sukshma form and the Ka in the Stula form. But we say Ka, also we say it loud. But truly speaking, that it is not saying it loud, but it is having an impression in the mind. So therefore, that means to say that all this, whatever that is mantra that is there, at the manifest level, it also has simultaneously an unmanifest level behind it, and then the silence. That's why when how we use this particular trick in the meditation is that while meditating, that you notice actually that you say when the audible sound drops, but then this continues at the inaudible way itself continues. Similarly, U continues in an audible way. So one is a manifest, other is manifest but not gross, but it is subtle. So therefore, the gross and subtle is there. But that merges into silence. So these three stages are there. Om is manifest, but then behind that there is Om, subtle way, and then the silence. In fact, the same principle is also useful in the yoga in the sense that if I give an instruction as a teacher, and then what you do is that you also repeat that instruction in your mind. So what I said is loud, verbal, and then what you say to yourself in the mind is non-verbal, it is sukshma, and that will have an effect on your system, taking you towards silence. Relax your body. When I say relax, it is something which is gross. You repeat in your mind in a subtle way, stula and sukshma, and the result of it, that karya, is that you are relaxed inside. When you philosophically look at that, the whole of yoga is like that. So therefore, that basically that the creation is sthula sukshma karana, and yoga is that varies withdrawing from the sthula to sukshma to karana. Silence to sukshma to sthula is the way that the manifestation takes place, and withdrawing takes place from the sthula sukshma to karana. That's why yoga is supposed to be a spiritual journey, a spiritual activity that we are doing. The more and more that you go to deep inside, then outside does not matter. I always say, even when a number of people together we are chanting Om, meditating, you get hooked onto your own Om. There may be others who are saying other sounds are there, but don't worry about that. Your Om is very important. Your Stula, you say Om, and then go to your Sukshma and then your Karana. Outside people may be saying, you don't have to say it together as one. In the beginning it may be, but later on, yours Om is absolutely your own. You start inward journey that continues. So this is how essentially Spandana philosophy is used to see that how Omkara in the fifth sutra, it has been taken pranava. There's a way that very beautifully the whole analysis takes place between by Pippalada to the students. So ultimately, the last one that he says is the idea that all these three things are the way that Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda are connected with. Rigveda is connected with Akara, Yajurveda is connected with Ukara, and then Samaveda is Makara. In the sense that Yajurveda, Rukveda is the one which is about the Ruk, which is the loss of the world outside, material world outside. That's what is Ruk. Whereas the moment that you come to Yajna, you see that Yajna, Yajurveda, connected with Yajna, is the one where you try to go from the, with the help of material, that is their chosen material and all that, and now you try to please this God, that God. That means already that you are going to the Sukshma world. Our sages have presented all those things. So therefore, that Rugbhiretam Yajurbhihi Antariksham. Etam, that means to say this world existing is supposed to be Rigveda, and then Yajurbhihi Antariksham. The space is Antariksham, and that's what is Yajuhu, Yajurveda. So always this Yajurveda takes us to that level. And the uh, figuratively, or the way that representation that we are given is the way every yajna is with the fire. The idea is that fire you put all those things so that it will go to the Devaloka, they say Antariksha Loka. That Antariksha means actually that it reaches to the Sukshma level, Stula to Sukshma. Samabhidyat Yat Kavayoho Vadanti. So these things that Samaveda is something where Samaveda is the one which takes us toward the Brahmaloka, towards that side. So therefore, from Samaveda, then it will take you towards that Brahman, Atmasthiti. Therefore, Samaveda is supposed to be all these various arts, creation, music, various forms of art belong to Samaveda. So therefore, that one reaches the Brahmaloka if he properly takes these things as the sadhana aspect of it. And sadhana, brahmacharyena, tapasa, brahmacharyena, shraddhaya. When you take these things, then they go to the highest level, into the level where you are freed from the death. Because until this time, sthula, sukshma, and then including the karana, it's all coming and going. The body has this coming and going quality. Along with this body, all these three states, Jagrata, Swapna, Sushupti, all these things are coming and going qualities. Only thing is that when you become one with the Turiya, the fourth state, and that's what is the way Sama takes you to that fourth, which does not die. What is the reason for that? Why it does not have a decay or death? Because Stula and Sukshma, as I said earlier, that these two are connected with the Karya Karana Sambandha. That means to say there is a cause and there is an effect. Gross world has this cause and an effect. So both these things are there. Cause and effect connection is there. Brahman to creation, there is no cause and effect. So therefore, we can't say Brahman is the cause and the manifested world is the effect. Karana, Tatkarya, it is not like that. So therefore, that you transcend the Karya Karana level. So that's the reason why I said that Karya Karana level that you transcend, where the question of even the good work, virtuous work, punya papa, all these things are also at a grosser level, and then you go beyond that. He is a moksha, and that's what is the state that we reach into. So until this fifth question, these are all so closely connected, easily connected. But the moment that you come to the sixth question is a little different. It is it takes up a subject which is not so easily connected with the world outside. So therefore, basically, it's a little bit twist in this sixth question. So when we take up the sixth question, it is Sukesha and Pippalada discussion that goes on. Sukesha Bharadwajaha Paprachaha. Athainam Sukesha Bharadwajaha Paprachaha Bhagavan Hiranyanabaha Kausalya Rajaputra. He is the son of Kausalya Rajaputra, and that's what is Kausaladesha, and his name is Hiranyanabha. Mam upetya prashnam apruchataha. That means to say, he approached me and then he asked me the question. So he doesn't give it as, see, earlier they have given what is next like, what is next towards that. Now it's almost like fifth chapter, fifth one. It almost takes you to the Brahmaloka, Brahmasthiti. Omkara has taken us to that. So there is no more connection, no more in that particular connection that is there. So therefore, here he says that there is somebody by name this Hiranyanabha. Hiranyanabha is his name, Kausalya Rajaputra. And then Mamupetyata Prashnam Apruchataha. He asked me, what is that? Shodashakalam Bharadwaja Purusham Vetha. So he says, Bharadwaja, hey, Sukesha, Shodasakalam. That means somebody who has got 11 limbs. I mean, 16 limbs. Purusham. There's a Purusha. Vetha. Do you know about that? He asked me, who is that? Tamaham Kumaram Abruvata Nahamam Imam Veda. I replied, I don't know it. I don't know about this one 16 limb. This is very, very significant in the idea, saying that when you do not know it, you say that you don't know it. You don't, you don't pretend that you know it. You pretend to give an answer for that, which you don't know yourself. Not only that you're in the darkness, you lead somebody else into the darkness. That's why it's very, very important on the Vedanta to be able to be honest. If you don't know it, you don't know it. That's very significant thing in the Upanishad knowledge that when he does not know it, he says that let me go ask my teacher and then come back to you. We should have that humility about the knowledge. When you have that humility about the knowledge, that means to say that you keep the knowledge at a higher level and then you are a small little fellow. Yes, knowledge is an ocean, and what you have taken is your Anjali. That means to say, in your palms that you have taken the water. That's why we have the Sandhya Vandana where you take the water in your palm and to put it back into the river. So this is me, and then I merge into the river. So that's why Sandhya Vandana, you take the water and put it in the, you say the, for what? So that what happens, let me know more. There the mantra that we say is that Diyo Yona Prachodayat. Bhur Bhuvat Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai. Diyo Yona Prachodayat. So Prachodana comes from that whole ocean, the whole source of water. See, what happens is that later on that you come to that also the idea, I will once again quote that the wave comes in the ocean and wave ocean happens in the water. So therefore what happens is that what you see only the waves, but then you take that to be the ocean, but then the waves, behind the waves is the ocean, behind the waves is the water. So therefore, that deeper level philosophy that basically it gives. Mama Petyatava Prashnam Pracha Shorshakalam Bharadwaja Purusham Vetha. So Tabham Kumaram Abhruman Nahamiti Vedam Vedam Vedam. I don't know about all these things. Yadyahamiti im avedisham katham te na vakshamiti. If I don't know it, how can I talk about it? Samolo va yesha parishishyati cho anutam abhibhavati. See, a lie like that, anutam, it it cuts you from the root. It destroys you from the root. Tasmam samulo va yesha parishishyati dries up from the mula. The Natam abhibhavati. That means to say you just do not connect it with the root. For example, that you are trying to water the leaf, but you are not trying to water the root of the plant. So when you go to the root, then the leaf will get the water. You don't have to put the water on the leaf. You put the water at the root, and the plant takes it. Whereas if you don't give the water at the root, the plant will die. So you go to the root. So all your ideas should be connected with that root. That's what the idea. He says that Yajyamaham avyedisham katham navakshami. In what way I say? Because basically what I say is only about the leaf. What I say is only about the wave. I'm not talking about the ocean. I'm not talking about the water that's behind it. I'm only talking about the ornament, not the gold behind it. See how disturbing it is, how how superficial it is. Our knowledge is superficial. Therefore, we always said that you question it in such a way that it will take you to the root. In this culture that we have always questioned, we have never stopped from questioning so that you can go to the root. There is no question of you believe. I said it, so you believe. The moment that you say that I said it, you believe, that means basically that you are now blocking your intellect. You are given a wonderful tool to question. It may not be in one life, life after life, this question should be continuing. That wonderful tool called intellect. Intellect is extraordinary, sharp tool. But then the questioning has to be so sincere that it should take you to the root. If you do not go to the root, then be honest, question it. No boy, I'm saying that, yes, I'm still questioning it. Upanishad says the moment that without knowing you say that, Yatimanya says Suvedeti, the moment that you say I know it, Nona Vedeti Vedasaha. You don't know it. That frankness Upanishad has it. That's why here also the student Sukesha says that I don't know it. How can I give him an answer? I have to find out my teacher. Now it is not so far connected with all those things. That's why he does not know. The whole journey that earlier that we have seen is something which is seemed to be one direction, and the Shodashakala Purusha seemed to be something different. This is somebody who has 16 different limbs of this Purusha. Shodashakalam Bharadwaja Purusham Vetha Tamaham Kumaram Abruvan Nahamimam Veda Yadya Aham Imam Vedisham Katham Navakshamiti समूलो वा येष परिशिष्यति तो ऋतम अभिभवति तस्मान् आर्हन्यं वकृतं न तूष्णीं रथमास्पत्य प्रव्राज्य तं वा पृच्छामि वासौ पुरुषैति. And then he went away. That Hiranyanaಭ bent his head down and then went away. And he did not. So I'm asking you that question from him. That's why I said that this is something which is little different from a different source that it has come. So now the answer says Tasmai Sahavacha Ihaivanta Shariri Somyavsa Purusho Yasmin Netam Shodashakala Prabhavanti iti. So therefore he says that people are that played, hey, my dear young man, Sukesha, that Purusha in whom these 16 colors are born is right here within this body. It's there in this body. In the body, when he says in the body, that means it's in your body, it is not my body. It's my body, not your body. No. Everybody has it. Whether you know it or not, it is there. The 16 kalas, yeah, 16 limbed Purusha is there within you. It's very interesting. Purusha himself does not have anything, limbs, but then he gives us the 16 limbs. How we need to understand the 16 limbs? What is this Purusha within? Responsible for, he gives us the analogy of that. Saiksham chakre kasmin aham uktanto ukranto bhavishyami kasmin va pratishtite pratisthashyamiti. What is it that whose departure I shall depart, and by whose stay I shall stay? As long as the 16 Kala Purusha is there, I am here. The moment that 16 Kala Purusha left, I go away. So Kasmin Utkramantaha Utkramanta Bhavishyami. And he goes away, I go. Kasmin Va Pratishtite Pratistashyamiti. So therefore, that there is nothing like I here. It's only that 16 Kala Purusha, Shodasha Kala Purusha, is here. And I feel that I am there. Actually, you are not there. Are the other words that you are nothing but the 16 Kala Purusha, and that's possibility. The only possibility is that you become merged with that 16 Kala Purusha, and then you are not separate. But as long as that you are separate, you think that separate exists because that 16 Kala Purusha is there. It's like the way that a shadow exists as long as the object is there. The moment object is not there, shadow is also not there. You are here like a shadow. You are not the Purusha, 16 Kala Purusha. The moment that you go away, and then 16 Kala Purusha also goes away. When that goes away, then you go away. And this is all connected with the prana. That's what he says that sapranamasurjataha pranan shraddham kham vayuhu jyotirapah पृथ्वी इंद्रस्य मनसः अन्नम वीर्यः तपो मंत्र कर्मलोका लोकेषु च नाम च. So what are these 16 colors or 16 projections that are there? More important, kala means that projections. Kala means projections. Like the way that your mind has got the projections of the eyes and ears, seeing and hearing and all that, and then further ends up into the eyes and ears and all that. So, like that, they are coming from that. Here, it goes to much more deeper. We can easily understand that the mind and working through all those things. So look at the way mind sees, but without eyes, can mind see? But do you mean to say that eyes are only seeing? Mind is not there? No, eyes do not see. Like, for example, somebody has given the eye donation, the eyes are there in the box. The eyes are, they say that they are living and they can be replaced by a person. But you mean to say that those eyes can see? They themselves cannot see. And they have to be powered by a person who is behind it. So you put those eyes into somebody, and that somebody you can make him to see. Similarly, various valve replacement, this is replacement, kidney replacement. They are living, but then they themselves are not functioning unless until they are supported by something behind it. So it's like the way that the mind is the one which is making the eyes to see. Or in other words, the eyes do not see. Mind is the one who is seeing. Mind is the one who is hearing. It is nothing but mind's extension is the eyes. Mind's extension is the ear. Mind's extension is the mouth. So the same way that it is this prana whose extension is all those things. So therefore he became the prana. In fact, he says that pranam asurjataha. He created this prana, but actually uh, that language, those days it was called as the srishti, surjana. And in other places also, some other places also, the srishti, surjana, it is different from the creation. Now we, in English, we don't have a better word, therefore, that we say creation. But it's not created. Like, for example, dancer becomes the dance. Dancer becomes the dance. So dance is not outside the dancer. Can you remove the dancer from the dance? No, you cannot do that. So this is what is the analogy that our philosophy has given, that he becomes that. So therefore, that Brahman himself becomes prana. So he created the prana. When he say he, here it is basically pranam sa pranama sujata. Prana is a jivatma becomes the prana or gives up its freedom to become prana. And then from the prana, He becomes faith, and that's what is Shraddha. We need to become that Shraddha. Shraddha is the the prana is what normally that we call it as prana is energy like, but then Shraddha is something which is like a, a passion to become, an identification to become. That's what is Shraddha. Shraddha is very important. And then Shraddha becomes Akasha, space. And again, now here the Akasha, it can be the Akasha in the world out in the whole. When we talk about the Paramatma, it is the Akasha outside, space outside. And then Jivatma, when we talk about the Akasha inside. When we say Akasha, there also we have a wrong notion that is we translate into sky. It's not it's not the sky, but it is the skyness, the possibility, and that's what is Akasha. So whatever that possibilities are created, infinite amount of possibilities. Infinite Brahman created infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities. That's why we see that amount of the creation that can go on, limitless. That's why we call it as Karana Brahma and the Karya Brahma. They say that unmanifest Brahman and the manifest Brahman. This also Brahman, infinite. That's what is Akasha. Akasha is not just the way that you see the space, large space, small space. No, it doesn't even go by this size because by the time at the Akasha level, there is nothing like size at all. The size comes at much more grosser level. Consciousness does not have a size. Consciousness is not confined by a size. Akash itself is not confined by size. Therefore, basically, it is infinite there. Consciousness is infinite. But people talk about this consciousness is limited to this body. It's not confined. It's something which is possibilities that can be there. Prana is much lesser than that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that think periphery for this particular prana, periphery for this mind. There's no periphery like that. Because these are the things which are beyond the level of any periphery. And then fire, so therefore Jyotihi, then prana, Shraddham, Kham is Akasha, and actually this Kham is Akasha. From that we get this word called as when the space is which is free gives you that freedom. That's what is called a Sukham. That means a good kind of a space. I provide you all the space for you. Like this, we have a friend who comes to Prashanti Vasishta in our, and then the children will be playing. And the mother says that they have a lot of space to play, whereas their house is confined. So therefore, where the confinement is there, which is called as the dukkham, and where the space is there called as sukham. And this is what Brahmanak Upanishad also says like that. When Yajnavalkya and discussion goes on between the Maitreya and Yajnavalkya, Maitreya asks, what is Sukha? Where are you going? She asks Yajnavalkya because Yajnavalkya gives everything and goes away. He says, I'm going in search of Sukha. Then Maitreya asks Yajnavalkya, that means the money that you are giving me does not carry the Sukha. Vittena Ashanasti, there is no hope in Vitya to get that Sukha. And then actually that he was caught red-handed in the sense that he told that Maitreyi that you take all this money and then be in a happy state. I'm going to the forest, giving up everything. Ah, you gave up everything and then going to the forest for what? Said Sukha. So that means to say, you mean to say that in this money, Vittena, Ashanasti, there is no hope in this Vitta. He blushes, he said, yes, it's not there. Then she asks, "Do you think that I'm a fool? You think that there is no asha in this vitta in the money, and then that you give it to me? Go in search of sukha. Vittena asha nasti sukham." Then he asks, "What is sukham that you are looking at?" Then the discussion goes on. Nalpe sukhamasti bhuma vai sukham. When you are alpatva, that means when you are irksome, when you are confined, when you are boundaried, sukhamasti, na asti, sukham na asti, there is no sukha. Bhuma vai sukham. Only in this expansion, that's what is sukha. So go to the expansionness. That kham is akasha, is this kind of sukha that you go to. Prana shraddham, shraddham kham. Now you look at the one that shraddha comes even before the akasha comes. Possibilities. But you have the shraddha. Unfortunately, these days we don't give that importance to shraddha. In any activity that we do, it's not what activity that you do, but you manifest a shraddha. That is something which is very important. We need to manifest that shraddha. And then come Vayu, then the wind, Jyoti, Apaha, fire, the brightness of the, and then Apaha is the earth, is the water, Prithvi. Now look at this particular progression that it has taken. Asrujataha, the development has taken place. Prana, prana is something much prior to Shraddha. So what we are thinking of prana is that aspect which is prior to Shraddha. And from there, Shraddha is born. And from Shraddha is the space, possibilities. Akasha, Avakasha is born. And then Vayuhu. Now there's confinement. When it comes to the idea of wind, there's a confinement. Wind is confined to a particular place. Our wind are in the form of the gas. And Jyotihi, that means fire. Further, it is confined to one particular thing. And Jyotihi Apaha. Apaha is the water. See, apaha, that means to say, it is basically the fluid. Fluid is confined to, liquid is confined to basically the shape, the quantity. But the shape, yes, it can take any shape, but it's confined to that. Like water, you can put it in any container and then it takes the shape of that container. That means to say the freedom of the container, freedom of the shape. But by putting into a container, you are not increasing the water or decreasing the water. That means three-dimensional freedom is not there at the level of apaha. But whereas before that, three-dimensional facility was there in the form of vayu. Air, you can compress it or you can expand it. So three-dimensional freedom is there at the vayu. And three-dimensional freedom is not there at the level of apaha. And then from apaha, when we come to Prithvi, it's further confined. Prithvi means solid. The solid size, shape, everything is already predetermined. It cannot change it. You put it in any size of type of container, the Prithvi or the earth, the matter, does not change its shape or size and all those things. It is there. And then now, so these are all the things which are there in the outside world and also inside. In fact, whatever that's there outside in the form of Prithvi, Apaha, Tejaha, Vayu, Akasha is the same thing that is there within us also. We borrowed from that and from that we created. Why we borrowed that and created that? Because that we interact with those things. The earth will interact with the earth, fire will interact with the fire, and then Apaha interacts with the Apaha. And that's how basically that in Taittiriya Upanishad it gives us the idea that food confines to food, hunger. Annavad annado bhavati. The same way, when you are thirsty, that means to say there is a dearth of water within you, only water can quench. So these two are interconnected. So water within me, the paucity, the lack of water within me is the one which connects with the water outside. Lack of air within me connects with the air outside. So therefore, that these things are connected with the outside world Exactly whatever that is there outside, we are born with the same thing. Very simply, that you could see that the food that we take has got the earth element, the food that we take has the prana element, the food that we take also has got the water element, we also take the water. Air, we constantly breathing. So that means to say there is no way that you can separate from the nature from the world outside. And now what happens is that these all these things that are there in the world are outside, and then you interact with that. In the first place, it is the indriyam. So at the gross level, that it is the sensory organs, indriya, and indriyam, manaha. So now that is mind. Now mind is created. Then annam, annat viryam, the food that is there, and then that gives the energy, viryam, tapaha, mantraha. So tapas, and then mantra, all these mantras, various vibrations and various spandana that is created. Karma, loka, lokeshu cha namaha. So now the karma, the action, and then loka, the world that is there, and then lokeshu cha namaha. So mantras, the Vedas, that means to say the knowledge, and then karma, the yajna, all these things that are there, the words, and again in the world, different names. The world is identified by these names. So like this, that these are the 16 different kala that is there, from which the this is what is the Purusha. All these things are coming from one single Purusha. Please understand this. They are not from different sources. They are from the same one single Purusha. And it is the Purusha is interacting with that. As I said that he created the senses, he created the water. And then water quenches the thirst, food quenches the sting. And from that, all these things that is the whole thing that is about the Yajurveda, all these things, mantras, and the karma. Rigveda is mantras, and then Yajurveda is the karma kanda that they have given, yajnas that are given. All these things are out is about the Purusha only, nothing outside that Purusha. So therefore, basically, that these are the 16 different ways that interaction takes place. Now you see that 16 completed in that Shodasha Kala Purusha is that what is happening in this. Sayathema Nadyah Spandamanaha Samudrayanaha Samudram Prapyastam Gachanti Vidyate Tamsam Namarupe Samudritya Prekshate एवमेवास्य परिद्रष्टो रिमाः षोडश कलाः पुरुषायानं पुरुषं प्राप्तस्यं गच्छन्ति भेद्यते च तासां नामरूपे पुरुषे इत्येव प्रोच्यते स एषो अकालमृत्यो भवति तदेष श्लोकः. Now just as rivers, like the way that the rivers go and merge into the ocean, the rivers sea bound, seaward bound, when they reach the sea, they disappear and get their names and forms liquidated to the name and form of the river completely merges into the sea, liquidated into the ones, and the sea and all that is called merely devotion. So also all the 16 kalas of the seeker that are Purusha as the goal disappear and reach the Purusha. So all these things are the rivers, and the rivers go back into the ocean, the same way that all these different 16 kala that are there merge into the Purusha, and their names and forms get merged, and they are therefore called simply as Purusha. And he, the person, becomes without parts and immortal. As this part, there is the following verse. Now let me give you this idea that when you are at the leaf consciousness, then one leaf and second leaf and third leaf, they are different. So it looks like that I'm the old leaf, I've been here for such a long time. You are a young fellow, you have come here. I'm previous generation, you are the new generation, you are coming in my way. I'm taking the sun. This leaf does not shout at the other leaf, young leaf, because the leaf does not have leaf consciousness. Whereas We are like that, leaf consciousness, and we say that I'm senior and you are junior, you are coming in my way. All these differences come because that we are the leaf consciousness. Whereas the moment you go from the leaf to the stem, all the leaves are nothing but various limbs of the same stem. And then from the stem, that when you go to the branch and branch to the trunk of the tree, you see that everything merges. Everything merges. This journey from leaf consciousness to tree consciousness is journey of spirituality. This journey is something which is very important. And then this is what is going to the Purusha. The tree is the Purusha, the leaf is what you are. You are not different from the Purusha. But unfortunately, you have taken up the separate thing. So, Ara iva radhanabhau kala yasmin pratishtitaha tavedya purusham veda yathameve pratyuhu parivyatiti. You see, this spokes on a wheel. This concept of a wheel and spoke and all that is there from the ancient times. So the whole wheel, and you look at the spoke, the whole wheel, it is based on it depends on the spokes, and the spokes so thin, the spokes. Each spoke, if you separate, you take it out, you can just bend it. It cannot take the load of the whole person. But then you look at the way that how much that you load the wheel. Each spoke may be independent, individual, may not have strength, but then all the spokes gain their strength from the ara. That means a nabha. That means to say that is whatever that axle that is there at the center, from there it receives. But the axle itself is something very insignificant. The wheel is there, therefore that axle has the purpose, idea. So therefore Purusha is there in the form of an axle. And then from there all these spokes are there, Araya, Ratanapo, and from there it comes. That means to say, we need to see that whether you see, whether you hear, whether you interact with the world outside, all these things, the sensory organ and the object of the sensory organ, all these things belong to the Purusha. Purusha created, and its Purusha belongs to Purusha. And Purusha is the person who is the strongest. Like the way that all these things merge back into the central axle, the same way that all these things will merge into the Purusha, provided you do not keep yourself separate identity. Unfortunately, what happens is we identify ourselves with some object here, there, outside, and some related sensory organ, some related mind, memory, and then we are separated ourselves from that Purusha. And even at the time of death, we do not leave it up. Before the death, that when you leave all those things, identify yourself with Purusha, then you merge into that Purusha, like the way that all this wheel is nothing but connected with the hub, the center that is there, axle that is there. Tan ho vacha etavadeva deva ahametan param brahma veda nataha paramastiti. So then Pippalada said to them, this much alone do you I know that the Supreme Brahman, there is nothing higher than that. There cannot be anything higher than that. That's what is the Supreme Brahman. Whatever that individual is also nothing but Supreme Brahman. But only thing is, the idea is that I realize that I'm blissful and I feel from all the clutches and then I become shackles and then become free. The world will not become free. But only thing that happens is that I'm like anybody else. I'm interacting like anybody else. And the moment that I go back to myself, then I can become an example for everybody to go back. It's like the way that I become contagious in the sense that inspirer, motivator for somebody to go into that direction. But his journey is his journey. This is what in Prahlada, when he says to Narayana, but my mind is disturbed. Kinchit golaitam manaha. Vishnu gives everything to Narayana. Narayana gives everything to Prahlada. But Prahlada, everything is there now, but only thing is my mind is oscillating. This is that you have to control yourself. You have to calm down yourself. Kinchit dolaitam manaha. Narayana says that you have to do for yourself. So we have to do our own sadhana in the sense that we have to find out that our own jivatma and then reach that. That's what is the idea. That's where the Prashnopanishad takes us to. It's the idea. And so with this, we have completed the Prashnopanishad. Tamarchasutam hinapitaha yasmakam. The worshipper Hippalada says, that's your father. Thou art our father, thou art fettered with the shore beyond across the ocean. Their thick ignorance. Salutations to highest rishis. Salutations to highest. Why he calls it as father is that a father is the one who gives birth to the child, comes out of that. It looks like now you are given a new life to us, make us to understand this. Therefore, that all these rishis that they say, all these disciples say to Prabhupada, you are like our father. That means from you, that now we are totally newborn, and you are that Purusha, you identify with that Purusha, and we are like the way that we are in the periphery. So there are two different ways that you look at it. The thing is that you keep the God at the center and then you keep at the periphery. Then you are always humble. You are working for the God. Second thing is you keep yourself at the center. God is at the periphery. Then you constantly demand God. You constantly put application to the God. God, I want this. God, I want that. No, you don't need that. That's what the world does. Let's change ourselves a stance that we are the periphery. And God, the Purusha, he is at the center. The Brahman is at the center. And therefore, that the I is supposed to be ego. Ego is the periphery. And yeah, whatever that you identify yourself with, all about the peripheral things. My job, my this, my position, my uh, intellect. This is all something which is outside. Let's keep the God at the center and then let's recognize that. Offer ourselves to the divinity. That's what is the ultimate goal of Prashnopanishad. We'll stop it here. The Prashnopanishad has come to an end. So let us close the session with the Prashnopanishad and we'll take up next as we go ahead. Think of what is the next topic that we deal with. We'll look at that. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.